This is Up for Grabs, a podcast where three unfiltered friends talk about anything and everything. And now, here are your hosts, Tracy, Kim, and Rachel.
Welcome to Up for Grabs. I'm Rachel. I'm here with my reading-loving friends, Tracy.
Hello.
And Kim.
Hello.
Good to see you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too?
Were you thankful?
Every day.
Well, that doesn't make Thanksgiving special then.
It does not at all. And I don't even care for the food, so it's fine.
You don't?
No.
Well, I was going to ask what was your favorite side.
I like green bean casserole.
Oh my gosh, that's what my mom made.
And there's only like 3 people in my family that eat it, so I'm the one that makes it. That's and I know that's not a usual suspect. I do love sweet potatoes with a lot of like brown sugar and
it's like a dessert.
All that good stuff. Yeah, but green bean casserole is my favorite.
Okay, and do you only have green bean casserole on Thanksgiving? Like, is it a dedicated?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's a dedicated holiday food.
It is. Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Doritos, Tracy? You don't like any of it?
I do love Doritos. No, and it's a newcomer to the dinner for us.
What is it?
Well, it's stuffing dressing, but we normally have that. But the past couple of years, my brother has made the White Castle stuffing.
Well, I don't.
Dear Lord, I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh! But instead of bread, you get like White Castles without the pickle, and you break those up, and it's like the bread, meat, onion, and then you add broth, I think, and cook it. I don't know.
Really?
It is freaking delicious.
It's all White Castle.
It's all White Castles.
You don't
There
add
might be some onion and celery in there. I don't really know.
But do you add any other breadcrumbs?
No.
So you're basically just tearing up a 6-pack of White Castle, putting
Probably
it in the
10.
oven.
Probably a
10-pack.
sack.
A sack of Castles, and then you
Put it in broth. Now,
broth.
yeah, like chicken broth, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's what you normally do. But Zach and I think if we made it as a side another time, we would probably use beef broth and try that.
I think either one would be add this.
It was delicious. That's all I'm saying.
Do you feel like you're just eating a White Castle deconstructed? Or do you think, gosh, this is really good stuffing? Because I don't think it would taste like stuffing at all.
I think it's really good stuffing. It tastes like stuffing. There might be sage. You might sprinkle some sage on there because that's what
my mom.
Stuffing just tastes like sage anyway.
My mom makes the best. I mean, I don't think there's too many ingredients in stuffing if you make it just basic.
Yeah,
but
and I never liked it. And my family grew up with like oyster dressing and regular, and it looked like snot, disgusting. No, I don't want it.
See, I do. The dressing is my favorite part, but ours definitely. I mean, I'll double check, but I'm almost positive it was not White Castles.
Do you put oyster stuff in it?
Well, I don't make it, but no,
I don't.
Say,
I think that's one of the traditional.
I don't
know why, but it's gross.
No, my mom.
I agree.
Do you use like dried out bread?
Yes.
Yeah. Not the maybe breadcrumbs that you can buy prepackaged. My mom does bread.
So I don't think they had White Castle. The Pilgrims. I don't think back in the day it's authentic, but it was tasty.
Yeah, that does sound good. I mean, that would be good.
I don't even know if it sounds good, but now I am curious.
I don't like turkey. Like it's gross.
We had just a small turkey breast this year, but we went outside. My mom made chicken.
Good.
Chicken breast.
And it was probably more delicious.
And it was. And everybody kind of just was like, not that crazy about turkey. I mean,
it's dry.
Yeah. And
it's
the chicken
flavorless.
was just as good.
Yeah.
Just like your sense of humor.
Thank you.
Well, I will say this. I am not a huge turkey fan either. Mm-hmm. But this year, need to shout out to Aunt Vicky. I went back for a second round of turkey. It wasn't dry. It was delicious.
You wanted to say moist, but then you felt uncomfortable.
Thank you. Well, I was proud of her for not saying it, and then you had to come in and say it anyway.
She was trying to find that word.
I refuse to say that word.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But I'll just say
it wasn't dry.
It was a miraculous surprise because usually I'm just like, I take some because I feel bad that she bought like a 25-pound turkey and most of the kids just like grab a roll and some macaroni and cheese and are done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Props to Aunt Vicky then.
Amen. She killed it. I don't know how she's gonna do this again next year, but
to herself.
It was delish. Well, good. I'm glad you guys all had a good Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I like to think of Thanksgiving as my holiday to just get out of the way so I can just decorate for Christmas without looking like a lunatic.
Yep.
And And
Yeah.
I did so.
Us too.
Okay. Today on Up for Grabs, we're going to discuss. I did go to some writing conferences over the past month. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the chore that it is writing, and maybe our thoughts about attempting to write something. And then maybe talking about things that we enjoy reading, because we are going to talk about our next book club selection, which was Colleen Hoover's Verity, at the end of this as well. So it's all about books, whether we write them or read them,
Yes.
and why we love them. Tracy?
Oh, all right. Are we starting off with the book that we read? Or what are we starting? Where do you want to start?
Me. You get to start wherever you want.
We'll start off with the book because she is a writer, so we can maybe weave it in or do it separately. I don't really care.
Okay.
The main character, it surrounds writing, where an author has fallen ill and a young person has been brought in to take over her series that is contracted. Is that a good summary?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand this person's name being Verity. I know it means like truth or something. I think it meant truth, but that doesn't sound like a name to me. So I had trouble. I sometimes have trouble with that when
They kind of get
when
weird
they
with
when
the
they
names.
because I just don't read it as a name. My
Well-
brain doesn't do that.
The protagonist also had a name that I didn't think really was a name.
Yes.
Lowen, Lowen. Is that short for something, or
Every time I saw that name, I thought of
who? I was.
Lowenstein. You know, the Barbara Streisand Nick Nolte movie.
You know that classic.
What was
Nobody
it called?
knows.
The Tide? Something Tide.
Oh, the Prince of Tides.
Tides.
That
Tides.
actually did win awards.
And Nick Nolte was in love with. But I can't. That was in the back of my brain, and he had that Lowenstein. That he called her by her last name. So whenever I saw that, I thought of that. Sorry,
Well,
I just got sidetracked.
I only thought of Lowenbrow, which was that disgusting beer from the 70s that my dad used to drink.
They had beer
Let it be
signs.
Lowenbrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember the song.
And when I hear Nick Nolte, I think of Gary Busey because I think they look alike.
They do look, and they're
that's-
both kind of
that is
crazy
a
acting.
weird turn of events that we
I
just
know,
took this
but-
conversation in.
And they have
terrible
nothing to
name.
do with the book.
no,
Nothing.
nothing.
So anyway,
Thank you for joining us. No.
and we're done.
Okay, so
Yes.
here's a couple of thoughts that I have right off the bat.
Okay.
First one being the opening scene
Yes.
where it's a tragic thing that happens and they're introduced to each other. Totally unnecessary. I kept waiting for it to come around full circle
I know.
and matter. Like I thought it was going to be pertinent to the story. They very much could have just bumped into each other and spilled coffee at the coffee shop and met that way.
Okay. Well, here's where I thought about that too. Mm-hmm. Here's what I thought. So the book opens with Lowen going to work or something, and somebody in front of her gets hit by a car, and I guess they die. But her shirt gets splattered with blood.
Yes.
So I thought that was just supposed to be a forewarning, because all of a sudden the main man, Jeremy,
yeah.
husband of Verity, was the person that helped her, like gave the shirt off his back, and then all of a sudden they went to the meeting and it was him. I'm like, was he stalking her? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yes,
What?
I think he was.
That is what I thought. Because I thought it's going to come full circle that was a meant to be thing. Of course, when you have an opening in a book like that, it piques your interest.
yeah.
It does. And then I don't think, as far as like, you're really good, Rachel, with like, that was a forewarning, like that it was going to be this, blah, blah. I didn't really think that. I just thought
And maybe
it was kind of corny.
Yeah, and maybe it had to do with his comfort with blood because he like helped clean her up like no big deal and
Yeah.
gave her his shirt, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I didn't care. For that.
Looking back by the end of the book, it didn't make any sense that was
No.
that was it. But I just thought, well, maybe since other people, I mean, maybe I was supposed to think that Jeremy pushed the pedestrian into the walkway and killed them. It sounds like Jeremy just,
So then he could be the savior because he did look like a very knight in shining armor. Here's my shirt. You have an important meeting.
Yeah.
Take my shirt.
and then
you
all of a
know.
sudden it was him.
But
It
they
was
never
him.
really,
Yeah.
in the book, the way that she wrote the rest of the book, it never came back around to that. where, that's why that happened, or
Right.
what, you just kind of were like, okay, that's just their chance encounter.
And maybe when we talk about writing, maybe we can talk about that, because I think writing is so subjective that some people will say that's what she did was brilliant. She led you to this and didn't, left you with questions unanswered. And other people will say, I think she just wasn't paying attention and left a bunch of holes in her story.
Yeah.
And just wanted to grab you right away that, this is interesting. Let's
Yeah.
keep reading.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, then. What about Verity's relationship with her mother? Do you think that had any, because they touched on that several times, or that it wasn't a good one? Was there any point in that? I didn't see a point to it.
No.
Other than she seemed disconnected. Maybe she wasn't good at judging relationships. Like there were just storylines that I was like, is this a reach? And this book is so widely popular that that is where I struggled with some of these disconnects.
Well, tell me this. What was her... I read this a long time ago. Was Verity's relationship with her mother a big part of the
Verity,
book?
Lowen's.
Lowen's.
Oh, remember her mom was sick.
Okay.
And so she was kind of shut in in New York when her mom was sick, because she was taking care of her. Her mom was like in hospice care at her apartment, and they didn't get along. Like, I don't think they ever liked each other. So there were a lot of mother-child things here. So maybe that was the whole point of that.
Was it kind of showing Lowen's, like, she was kind of a weak character, like vulnerable, needed somebody to save her? Was maybe they were kind of showing that she just she had such a disconnect with her mother, or felt like that. I don't know.
The only thing that I took away out of the relationship with her mother, other than the fact it made her super poor, she was always talking about how she took this job of finishing Verity's very popular series because she needed the money, because all of her money was spent taking care of her mom that was sick. But also, I felt like maybe it wasn't just the money, but her relationship with her mom, how she always had to be home, always was a caregiver, getting a way to go to Jeremy and Verity's home.
Yep.
And not wanting to leave even when strange things were happening, and anyone else would have fled the property immediately.
But she didn't want to be alone.
She stayed there. It was almost like it was a vacation to her, because she wasn't having to...
Yeah, there were so many red flags.
I can tell you the first time. Okay, like I'm going to just I'm going to jump around. I am not going to go in order at all, and I don't
tell me your
care.
flags.
The first time she saw that woman standing there looking at her when this woman was supposed to be an invalid in a bed upstairs, and she's giving her a dirty look while she's making out with her husband or whatever. Bye.
Goodbye.
I mean, like a cartoon with my legs looking like wheels in a circle going down the road. Smoke coming off my heels. No.
I think my favorite red flag moment that was waved off was when Jeremy and Verity's younger son, and I forget how old he must have been, maybe 7 or something.
Yeah, he wasn't very old.
He wasn't very old.
Between 7 and 9, maybe.
Like, kept looking up in the window over her head, and then she'd look, and like Verity wasn't there, but she was like, "What's he looking at?" Like he waved or something.
Yes.
And then he says to him like, "Well, Mom said not to talk to you," or just
yes.
And she's like, "Your mom talks," and he's like, he kind of backpedaled. I don't remember how the conversation went down, but I'm like, I would be out of there so fast.
1,000 times.
Maybe she was getting set up to be put in the basement and murdered. I mean, she did not know these people
At all.
at all. And her publicist was like, "You got to do this. Go, go, go. You can't let go. This money and this opportunity." And
but as a writer, would you say no to like a series, a book series?
If you thought,
I know that, but I mean,
if that was going to propel you to a different place.
Well, let me take it. Let me integrate what I learned from my writers' conference into this story.
Okay.
Basically, what I took away is that I think if any of the people that I was surrounded by when I went to the second writers' conference I went to, they all would sign up and stay in the haunted house and never ever leave, because basically the picture that was painted to me was that these people are desperate, they're frustrated, they're not seeing a clear path to being a famous writer. And if you were given one and all you had to do was put up with a lady that may or may not.
Yeah, I might do it. I'm backtracking.
Yeah, you got to put yeah, it's hard to put yourself in that. Like,
Yeah.
it's easy to say you would run, but you're also not a struggling writer who just wants a break.
After I spending time with this group of people, like I said, I went to 2 different conferences, and the first one was in Dayton, Ohio, and it was delightful. It was my people. Like it was specifically, it was the Irma Bombeck Writers Conference. So it was based, most of the people there had a humor-based medium, like something that they were doing had some humor in it. Very supportive group of people, very fun. There's room for everyone to write. You should write. You can write. Don't let anyone tell you can't. Only you have your perspective, and everyone writes about the same thing, but it's you that makes it special. You walk away. It's like the pep talk that everyone needs. And then I turned around and went to the Kauai Writers Conference, and it was the real life. Like my husband didn't go to the conference with me, but the people stayed in the hotel, and he's like, anyone that I see wearing one of those badges just looks sad. I'm like, and they're in Hawaii, so that's not good. I'm like, it had a different, these were the people that actually, and not all of them, but some of them are all in on this, have a finished manuscript and can't get an agent, can't get a publisher, and are just frustrated.
They're angry, yeah.
Beyond.
Was there any promise of that if you came to the conference?
Well, here's the other thing that no, kind of. If you paid,
sign me up.
if you paid for it, this particular conference you could have your manuscript, like 10 pages of your manuscript, critiqued by an agent, an actual working agent in the publishing world, or you could pay to have a 15-minute sit down to pitch your book idea.
Okay, that's why
to an
they were
actual
there.
agent.
Yeah.
And so that's hard, and I think the thing that I thought was heartbreaking was that really lured people in, because those people are desperate to get in front of those people. And I'm sure they just figured the only way I'm going to get in front of an agent or anyone in the publishing industry with my idea is to pay $95 to make this happen.
It sounds like Barbizon in the 80s when you wanted to be a model and you went
Yes.
small and had your pictures taken or whatever.
I had a book idea, and I thought, well, when else am I ever going to have a chance to talk to somebody that does this for a living? I'm like, I don't know any agents. So I signed up for a 15-minute, just book pitch. Oh my gosh, the first person I signed up with, it was just she and I in like this restaurant thing. She couldn't have looked less interested. She couldn't even she couldn't even pretend. And she was like not making enough eye contact. Like it's just she and I at the table. You only have to pretend for 15 minutes and then it's over.
Right.
And I didn't think anything was really going to come of it, but I wanted constructive feedback, like about
Tell me what direction to take
what
this
I,
in. Yeah.
what about the
Yeah.
idea do you like? What needs to be tightened up? When I pitched this, for real to someone else, what should I do? What was the good part, the bad part, that kind of thing. She all but was stifling a yawn. I'm like, oh yeah, it was bad. The other one was a little bit more engaged, but she also talked more about herself.
Fun.
And I barely even, in our 15 minutes, she barely even remembered to ask me what my book pitch was because she was name dropping. And I'm like, okay, no.
Wow.
So
That's disappointing.
with that in mind, the cutthroatness of being published, the Verity book kind of made sense to me when the red flags were coming, only in the sense that, hey, this Lowen lady had this opportunity to be in on something. It'd be like, finishing the Harry Potter series or whatever. They made it seem like whatever Verity had written was super duper popular.
Right.
And the real author, Colleen Hoover, who wrote Verity, she probably from experience.
Well,
maybe she was thinking this is
that is her. This statistic out this week is 9 of the 15 books on New York Times paperback bestseller are Colleen Hoover books this week.
Holy cow.
And is she self-published?
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to lie and say yes. I assume, or she has a big part of it. I mean, I don't know.
Or maybe she isn't now, but
My daughter
started.
Maddie has probably read all of her books. And
But I mean, 9 out of
she loves
15,
the way
that's
she writes.
insane.
That is insane.
But weren't you saying that initially that was a product of book talk, like TikTok?
Yes.
TikTok. Yeah.
It went viral last summer or the summer before. I can't remember now.
That's how Maddie
It was
kind
like
of
a
got
pool
onto
book.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and at my other conference that I did like, the one, the Irma Bombeck one, they did have a whole thing about TikTok and how it's a marketing tool that's free and there, and it has billions of users. And if you're not using it, you're a fool.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the fools. And so now I'm trying, I mean, I don't have anything to put on there yet, but I at least downloaded it and start looking around, see what other authors are doing to promote themselves or their books or whatever.
Yeah, right.
At this other conference, the serious one where everyone looks sad, TikTok was never mentioned. Almost like if you have to resort to TikTok to get people to read your literature.
That's a generation that just doesn't get it right now. I mean, yeah.
So yeah, so it was night and day. So yeah, so let's go on with Verity. So my point was, I get it that maybe she was desperate because she was a writer.
Lowen was
desperate. Okay,
Yeah,
back to you.
Lo and behold. I don't think that makes sense. Okay. And it said that she struggled with confidence. She didn't feel that engaging. So the fact that she could step into someone else's shoes as a writer, but she also seemed to want to step in this woman's shoes with her husband. And that there was a lot of sex in this book. I thought. Did you think there was a lot of sex?
I think that's a common.
I don't know what your normal.
I think that's a common thread in Colleen Hoover's books.
Sex in the books that you read.
No, there was a lot of sex.
But I thought there was a lot.
Yeah.
Wasn't it more in the Verity's autobiography?
Yes.
Okay. So Lowen was reading Verity's quote unquote autobiography for those that haven't read the book. And I felt like that's where all the sex was.
It was where all the sex was. It was is that second person sex? I don't know.
Yeah.
We were being told in a story about a story.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird that all the young kids were reading it, but that's okay. Maybe they learned something. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Was that
well, I guess since you brought up the sex part, so who did you have playing Jeremy in the movie?
I was thinking about that today.
I
Who?
had
You
somebody
did?
in mind.
Who did you
when I
have?
read the book. Daniel Craig.
Okay.
Okay. I think
know I pictured darker and hairier. Like
Harry.
face-
I'm sorry, what?
I pictured
Like a
darker hair,
mustache.
and I pictured younger.
Yeah, younger and like facial hair or something,
Okay, well, give me somebody who.
I don't know.
Do you really read books and not have somebody visually
I
in
know.
mind?
My
'Cause
daughter and I got in an argument over this because I'm
always
a quick
do.
reader and I don't all the time.
Yeah.
Like envision. And
have
she's
to.
like, how can you read a book without envisioning what they look like?
Yeah, I can't.
I
have
don't
to.
know. I don't know. I mean, I just thought, oh, he's just your typical like Chris Hemsworth, maybe like a dark haired Chris Hemsworth. I
see
think that he had to have been like stunning,
Yes.
like in
Yeah, because creepy things were
sexy.
happening.
I mean, there had
She
to have
stayed
been.
after
Yeah.
after a whole lot of stuff went down.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth more in my mind.
Okay, Tracy.
Yeah, I
Can
can
you-
go with that. I can't think of anyone independently that I just pictured a very handsome.
Yes.
Like Jake from 16 Candles. I
Yes.
always go back to Jake from 16
Well,
Candles.
that's easy. Yeah, he's a little
And
young.
you know
but-
he didn't end up that handsome. I saw a picture of him like he's our age.
Yeah.
And he's very average, and I found that really sad. I saw it recently.
He looked like he was our age when he was in 16 Candles.
Well, I don't care.
Okay.
He
Well,
was
he just
cute.
did.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good looking, but yeah, he looked.
So something along those lines, only older, a little more masculine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know why I had to ask that, but for some reason I think that's important. Okay. So
Okay.
keep going.
Let me think. Verity as a mother. Let's touch on that really quickly because as a mother, I look at things obviously from my perspective as a mother because that's my main job. She was horrible.
But
Was she?
was she?
Or was that whole manuscript thing just a writing lesson on how to be a villain?
Okay, you think those accidents all really happened?
No, I mean, I definitely, throughout the whole book, I thought that she was
The
a
scratch on the
crappy
face.
mother.
I don't know.
She was more concerned that Jeremy was in love with her and that they had great sex versus her
A
kids.
family.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't ever get behind that kind of mom. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think anybody was supposed to be getting behind her. I think they were supposed to be reading it thinking, did she really write this?
As a manuscript or as a writing exercise.
An exercise. I don't know.
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, I
think she wrote it as a manuscript. I'm going with that.
And how did it unfold in the book again? The note that said, oh, if you found that, that horrible thing I wrote about
It was just something I wrote.
that silly thing.
Yes.
Was that found when in the book? Remind me. Was it like after she was already dead?
She was dead. They were moving out.
Yeah.
They were
Lowen
moving.
found it, correct?
Lowen found it when she and Jeremy were moving into their home because she was pregnant.
And she burned it.
Yeah, she burned it, never to be spoken of again. So he knows the truth. If that's the truth, he knows the truth. She knows the truth, but he doesn't know that she knows the truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So there was just a lot. I guess the thing when I was reading it is, it was a page turner.
It was.
And I wanted to know what was going to happen. And then after I was told, here, this is what happened, and I had a chance to think about it, then I was mad.
No, I was too.
I was aggravated. I
was very aggravated.
don't mind a tall tale, but I need some plausibility. And I just felt like there was a lot of nonsense in here.
Do you think, because what's the book that Colleen Hoover, the one that she has a sequel, or it was a prequel. She just released it in the last year.
The end, or
it all ends here with us, or whatever. Do you think that was purposeful? That there's going to be another, that they're going to continue the story of Jeremy and Lowen? I mean, is that why I'm saying? Is that why authors do that?
I mean, are we talking like Flowers in the Attic Part 4? I don't know what.
Because there were just so many unanswered questions. I mean, I don't know.
Well, to go back to what I learned at my writers' conferences,
please.
It's all about creating a series. So if you can find something that a bunch of people will read, and then you can make it into a series, then that's the most successful. That I should say, that is when publishers will be most interested in publishing your books, is when
it's open-ended.
All of a sudden you have more than one book in you because you're going to make this a series, and it doesn't hurt.
You already have an audience.
Yeah. Colleen Hoover, I think she was self-published for one of her books, and then it kind of blew up on TikTok, and now I'm sure she is with one of the major publishers, but that's only because she's bringing an audience with her already. They know she's going to sell books.
Right.
And who has that luxury?
Well, I was telling Rachel and Tracy when I came over to start podcasting, I Googled the book summary because it's been a few months since I read it. And I found this very interesting. I don't know if there's like a new edition of this book or whatever, but Colleen Hoover changed the epilogue of the book. And if you've read the book, in part of the book, there is a friend of a Verity's that kind of comes in, she comes to visit her.
Or was she at the grocery store?
Yes, she was at the grocery store. She's very suspicious of everything that is going on. Well, in the epilogue of the new epilogue of this book, it doesn't state, whether Verity made anything up or not, but it does state that this friend came to visit Jeremy and Lowen as they are living their new life with their new baby and, all this stuff. And she's...
Sorry, that's construction.
Oh,
Just
gosh, I was like, what is that?
Never mind that.
She's in on, there's something suspicious going on, and Jeremy kills her. So why change the epilogue if you're not going to maybe do something in the future? I don't know. I just thought that was it changes your, okay, I thought Jeremy was a creepo from at the end of the book, I'm like, he's a murderer. He's a weirdo. He's a murderer. But then it just adds to that.
It's double homicide now.
Oh, no, it's like triple, I think. There's several
Really?
people dead. I don't even know.
I don't know. I just thought that was really weird. I'm not.
Well, maybe she is.
I don't follow the writing world. I don't know how common that is.
I've never heard of that.
Epilogue. I've never heard of that.
It's like changing your mind. Like, oh, did I say that the book ended this way?
So I just thought that
I changed my mind. It's this ending.
Let's publish
because
it
we have
again.
such a wide audience out there listening to us. Some
Yes.
people may have read that part. Some people might have the book with the new epilogue.
Yeah.
and have more of an insight to who Jeremy really is.
Well, and I think really my takeaway was she was a bad person. He was a bad. Everyone in that was just it. I didn't like any of them. I didn't like Verity. I didn't like Lowen, and I didn't like Jeremy. I thought the kid was creepy too. Don't you remember there was something about him running with a knife?
He was with a knife, and he was really messed up with his mother's thing.
I didn't like him.
He was 6. How do you not like a 6-year-old? What is wrong with you?
Did it give you Misery vibes?
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Like everybody was just kind of messed up in that book.
I will say that, all three of us are fairly well read. So, yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I can see how this would appeal to young girls, especially.
And I think that's the popularity of her.
Is that there's so much happening. There's so much drama, so much sensationalism that happens. I think once you're like 50, you're like, oh my God, life is so dramatic that I do not need all of this drama, one right after the other. But when you're 18, 20, that's pretty exciting. It's one thing after another. It's what kids are used to. Instant gratification, like one thing after another, And I felt like this book was like that. There was just like, are you kidding me? Like I would turn the page and go, come on. So it wasn't that plausible to me.
Yeah.
But I could see where a young reader might think, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Well, no shit, neither can I, because it didn't. I mean,
well, and I'm not even sure why I initially read the book. I read it over the summer, I think.
Did Lillian, because I know that Maddie gave it to Lillian. I just wondered if Lillian said, Mom, read this. Because Maddie encouraged me to read it.
I don't know if I just saw it online, but it's not my genre. It's not, thrillers are not usually what I pick up.
Yeah. What do you read?
Just normal fiction. I do have a soft spot for historical fiction.
Ooh, weirdo.
Because I think it's super fun.
Okay, you liked Loving Frank.
Yeah.
That's kind of historical fiction.
It is.
I like to say I don't like history, though, so I'm going to stick with it.
I know, but
I'm doubling down.
No,
historical fiction that kind of has...
I guess my definition of a historical fiction is based on people that really lived.
Yes.
And happenings, some of them that really happened.
Okay.
And then the author makes up the world and the dialogue. And they do a lot of research to make it as truthful and accurate as possible.
But embellishing a little bit here and there.
Right. But with the license to be a novel. That's why it's fiction. So, but you can learn something or about someone. Like right now I'm reading a book about it's called Vanessa and her sister, and it's actually one of the authors that was at the Kauai Writers Conference. Her name is Priya, but I don't remember, her last name starts with a P. I'll have to look it up. But Vanessa and her sister, and it's about Virginia Woolf's sister Vanessa and their relationship growing up in England. So I know that Virginia Woolf is a famous author that is revered, but I didn't know she had a sister, and I didn't know anything about her family. So this is kind of a look at Virginia's life through the eyes of her sister, and I'm about halfway through and I'm enjoying it very much. So that's I lean towards that. Why? What do you read?
Lately I feel like I don't read anything, so I don't even know.
I do go through spurts.
I do like trash, though. I mean, like easy, mindless reads, like that whole series of One for the Money.
I've
Janet
read of those.
Ivanovich.
Yeah.
I think there are 25 in the series, and I've read them all. Which is
the good news for her is there's an endless amount of numbers to choose from.
But they're easy reads. They kind of they're mindless.
Easy, they're mindless. I like the characters. I've had crushes on a couple of them because I like to have a literary crush occasionally, and I just don't have to invest that much in it to be entertained for a little bit, and then I'm done. So, I mean, I've read a lot of classics in the past, but I'm not drawn to that anymore.
What are you drawn to, Kim?
I don't like classics. I mean,
you don't have to.
But I don't. I do I do love suspense and thrillers, but I like them to be, not that I'm some literary, I like them to be a little more, a
step up from Colleen Hoover.
The word I kept thinking was more educated, like more, yes, a step up, more maybe believable. My first pick isn't historical fiction, but Loving Frank, or I've read a couple and I can't remember. I do. I need to be hooked on the book within the first couple chapters or I completely lose interest.
Right.
And that's the hardest part, is that I know books sometimes take a little while to get there.
For the character development.
For the
and you
character
need to-
development.
Well,
you need the.
I'm not
to
an
get right
avid
at it.
reader. I go through spurts,
You know what they?
but I do enjoy a good book.
Okay. Well, I'll give you one suggestion of one kind of. I guess it's a thriller. It's kind of a mystery. I don't know if it's a thriller. It's a mystery though that I thought was really well done. Was called The Plot,
Okay.
and that also had to do with a writer writing about writers.
Okay.
It had some zigs and zags that I didn't expect. It was good. It was a good page turner, and it was a little bit more sophisticated than what we just read.
I just written for a 50-year-old.
Yes.
Not, a
Right.
20-year-old. That
Yes.
there is a difference. I mean,
There is.
there is. So
There is, and I hate that about myself. Like that, I feel like
it's just part of
I
my-
guess I'm old. What?
I know.
Gross.
I know.
So I will give it a shot, though. I'm not like saying no across the board. I'm not going to read that. Like I have another Colleen Hoover book at home that I got from the library, so it's not like I'm not trying it again.
I would read another one of her books because they're easy.
It just may not be my first choice, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And we've been in a book club. We were in a book club for several years. We've mentioned that, and we read a lot of books together. One story I had for today's podcast is that my daughter Samantha, who moved to Indiana about a year ago, and having a little trouble making friends. There is on Bumble a Bumble friend. I don't know if it's called friend, but there's a friend category where you can meet friends. So she went on there to meet friends and found a group of ladies who they decided to form a book club.
Okay.
And so Sam started a Facebook page that has like 30 of these ladies from Bumble that all wanted to do book club. And they read a different Colleen Hoover, I don't remember, but it was a Colleen Hoover book. And the book club meeting was this past Sunday. And Sam was all ready. They were going to Panera to meet. The only person she knew in real life was Joelle, who is my cousin's wife. And so anyway, they go. 10 people had said they were going to be there. No one else showed up. It was very disheartening. I told her I was going to tell this story because she's like, what if nobody shows up? I said, oh, honey, out of 10, somebody will show up. They did not. But I told her to stick it out, get another book, try it another month, see what happens. Because they probably all thought, oh, the other 8 people will be there.
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
So people will show up. So at least she read the book. She's putting it out there. She's trying. And I give props to anybody. I do think book clubs are a good way to meet people. And I'm giving her props for trying.
I know
Absolutely.
a lot. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Independent libraries. I'm friends with somebody on Facebook that happened to be like a St. Barnabas, Stephanie Parton. There's some, I think the book club might be in Franklin, or it's just a small one, but they have book clubs.
Independent bookstore, you mean?
Yeah, independent bookstores have like book clubs.
Oh, is it the
Okay.
Wild Geese Bookshop?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really cute little
Yeah,
place.
and she's been in that book club for a couple years, and
I will
so,
tell Samantha.
And
I
then you
didn't
know that if people are going to actively go,
Yes.
that they would show up.
Yeah.
So
Because it's hard to find a place to get started on that. So
And I think one of the things that I loved about the book club is that it pushed me to read things that
Yes.
I wouldn't have been drawn to myself, but
yeah,
then I
because we
actually
took
enjoyed
turns choosing
Yeah,
the book.
we read so many good books.
we did. And like I said, some of them were out of my comfort zone genre wise. Like I just wouldn't have bothered to look, and I did enjoy them. So that, yeah, I encourage Samantha to stick with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell her to go to
because it's a
Wild
way to
Geese.
meet people as
I will
well.
tell her. That's a good idea. What else we got?
Well, I just wanted to talk 1 second about the actual act of writing. I know that Tracy, you and I write
In theory.
in theory in our heads. Kim, do you write?
I'm not a writer. No,
But you can.
I can. I don't think I have confidence in it.
Okay. I just wanted.
I don't know what my problem is, like what stops me. I don't feel like it's a lack of material.
Okay.
I don't feel like it's a lack of creativity. I don't know what it is. Like, if I tell you the number of times that I've started a file on my computer and I've said, okay, I'm going to write 200 words a day for 30 days, and 6 days in, and then all of a sudden I'm on day 14 and I have it written in 7 or 8 days.
Right.
And then I just don't go back to it. And then 6 months will pass and I'll go, okay, no, for real, this time. This time you're going to do it. For real, though. And I don't follow through.
Well,
and I don't know how to get in the mindset of doing it.
I think the thing that keeps me from rushing to the computer every day to write something is just the low payoff. It's lonely. You never know if what you're doing is even in the right direction. But from everything that I've gathered from people that are successful, they feel that way too, but they just keep doing it anyway. And pretty soon, if you just do it anyway and you write a bunch of words,
Then what happens?
then you edit them down to 300 pages worth of words, and then you have a book. It's like one of the people that I did like at one of the conferences said, you'll write 1,200 pages to get 300.
Yeah.
And everyone looked at them like, oh my God.
See, that seems like so much. And I am one that I feel like sometimes I don't have time for people's shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's say what you want to say and move on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like writing is that way.
Writing is such a unique, it's such
Like I take for granted
Yeah.
that someone knows the backstory on things sometimes.
yeah.
And the thought of having to go back and start somewhere and fill in all the gaps that don't exist for me, but might for the reader,
Right.
seems very daunting.
It just seems overwhelming. And then you're like, well, is anyone really going to want to read this anyway? And then since it's so overwhelming and you're not sure, then it's easier not to do it.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm there
Yeah.
every
Like,
day.
what direction do I go in with
Correct.
it?
I wish someone would just tell me, you have to do X type of book and you have to give me X number of words by this date.
Yeah.
And I do it.
Yeah. Give me an outline.
Tell me what you want it to be, nonfiction, fiction, what do you want? And tell me that you definitely are checking or something horrible is going to happen to me if I don't turn in 50,000 words or whatever.
Yeah.
There were two ladies in Maryland at the local Panera. They were there every single time I went. Every day. I didn't go every day. I do now that I have a member of the SIP Club. But anyway.
Sponsored by Panera.
I get my drink. I pay like $11 a month and I get one every day. And it's jokes on them because I don't order food. I just get the drink and leave.
Jokes on them.
But anyway, these two ladies were there every day with their computers. And apparently they had published 2 books, I think, at the time. They wrote together on one book. And that seems very weird to me.
They go chapter to chapter?
I don't know if they discussed
you
it.
wonder, like,
they were both on their computers.
Were there multiple characters in the book and they each did a, well, you
I don't
still
know.
have to.
I don't know. I never asked, but
That-
I always wanted to know. I mean, I did ask, like, what are you guys doing?
Hey, what are you guys doing?
That is
Why
why
are you
here every day?
That is really interesting.
And they said that they are writers and they had a couple books published that they write together on their book.
Well, that at least if we wrote together, it would be accountability. So what do you want to write? Maybe you and I do need to write our first book together just to get something out
Yeah,
there.
but what if it ends a friendship when I like read your paragraph and go, oh my God, Rachel sucks.
But
I'm
you know-
not including that.
Yeah, but if it ends our friendship, but we become famous authors, isn't that
it
the
worth
Verity
it?
way? Isn't that the way Verity would want it? Yes.
It is all about Verity, which is truth. And that is the truth of everything.
Yes. The truth is, we'll talk offline, and we'll let our audience know when we decide what our title of our book that we're writing together is going to be and when it's coming out. Thank you so much for joining us today on Up for Grabs. We always want to hear your book suggestions. We consider you part of our book club, so we take suggestions. I don't think we have one on the docket next, so
We do not.
we'll have to have Kim. I think you're up, so you'll have to think of
Okay.
something fun for everyone to read. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to have you join us again when we talk about who knows what we're going to talk about
It's
next.
up for grabs right now.
It is. This room is up for grabs. We'll see you then.